What's up guys, welcome back. This is anime fiction. You'll be watching What If Naruto Was Killed by an Anbu, Becoming a Hollow Part 22. Now, let's begin. Shunsui's offense, while serious, did not warrant the drastic action of removing him from his position as captain. Yamamoto's response appeared excessively severe, seemingly aimed at discouraging future misconduct, or possibly driven by an entirely different intention. As Naruto surveyed the assembly, he noted the collective astonishment among the captains in response to Yamamoto's decree. The elderly gentleman refrained from disclosing information to anyone. As he surveyed the room, Naruto observed the captains displaying expressions of astonishment at Yamamoto's decision. It appears that way, partner. A hasty choice that aligns with the intensity of his Zanpakuto. Is it possible for me to overcome him using your flames? Measuring his flames is challenging without direct experience. While victory may not be assured, I can assert with confidence that defeat is not an option for us. He recognized her analysis with a nod. I may need to intervene with Yama. The likelihood of a conflict occurring is estimated at 1%. The presence of dynamic individuals such as Kenpachi and Mayuri in a single location creates an environment where a confrontation could occur at any time. With his strength now established, he felt no obligation to restrain himself when provoked, with the exception of Kenpachi. That individual was clearly a negative influence. Deliver a decisive blow to Yama's head for maximum impact. Yamamoto, oblivious to the tumultuous thoughts swirling in Naruto's mind, maintained a composed demeanor as he stated, "Shunsui, your actions were reprehensible. You have compromised your position." Shunsui displayed a subtle smile in response to the candid critique. "Captain Commander, I value the thoughtfulness of offering a dedicated employee such as myself an extended vacation. I want to assure you that I will remain in my position until we reach a resolution regarding the conflict with Hueco Mundo." If not for the looming threat within the Soul Society, he would have embraced Yamamoto's order wholeheartedly. Naruto sensed that kind of energy from Shunsui's response. Unohana's gaze intensified, recognizing a notable gravity in Shunsui's demeanor. She then directed her focus towards Naruto, her gaze seeking clarity. What led to his transformation? Her discerning gaze appeared to seek answers. What occurred with this unmotivated individual? Naruto returned the gesture with a cordial smile before shaking his head, which caused Unohana to adopt a displeased expression. Conveying that degree of information without the use of words was entirely unfeasible. Captain Yukitaki folded his arms, displaying a subtle frown. Could we consider imposing a temporary sanction on Captain Shunsui? I express my support for Captain Jashiro regarding this matter, Unohana stated. We should not hastily overlook one of our most esteemed individuals. His strength may prove essential in addressing potential challenges from Hueco Mundo. The long-standing associates of Shunsui have formally expressed their dissatisfaction to the Captain Commander. Yamamoto stood up from his chair, maintaining a steady grip on his cane. Each Shinigami within the Gotei 13 is entrusted with a responsibility to maintain. A leader who forsakes his fellow soldiers in the heat of battle is indistinguishable from the adversaries we face. Captain Yukitaki reconsidered his decision. Master Genryu-san, you have nurtured both him and me. He possesses a strong sense of responsibility and commitment. It is evident to both of us. Shunsui and Jashiro, as the inaugural captains under Yamamoto, have played a crucial role in numerous conflicts, taking on both leadership and support responsibilities. Jashiro found it troubling to dismiss Shunsui's significant contributions based on a single misjudgment. Yamamoto gently tapped his cane on the floor, causing a subtle vibration to resonate through the chamber. Anyone who endorses this individual is encouraged to step forward. Who else endorses this individual? Please feel free to express your thoughts. Mayuri inclined his head, a disconcerting smile spreading across his features. General, I currently do not have any interest in these matters. Additionally, I require further research on this new breed of Arankars equipped with Zanpakuto. Yamamoto elevated his hand before gesturing in a wave. You are authorized to return to your base. Thank you, General, expressed the captain with appreciation as he exited the assembly hall. As Kenpachi prepared to exit, Naruto gently dismissed Momo's hand and approached Yamamoto. Even while donning a student kimono, he exuded a level of dignity comparable to that of the other captains. I respectfully disagree with your decision. Yamamoto's intense gaze focused on Naruto. You are Naruto Uzumaki, a determined and resilient individual. Young man, I appreciate your efforts in safeguarding the town and our community from the Arankars. What motivates you to support Shunsui following his decision to leave you during the battle? Naruto crossed his arms, maintaining a steady stance in the presence of Yamamoto's formidable aura. He had confidence in my capability to manage all those individuals independently. He prioritized the search for his vice captain. Additionally, Yoruichi unexpectedly brushed her dry tongue against his earlobe. With a playful glint in her eye, she gracefully jumped onto Momo's head. Meow. Upon learning about Naruto's significant contribution to the protection of Izan and Isshin, Yoruichi was well aware that Yamamoto would likely refrain from imposing any punishment on Naruto in most situations. She took the opportunity to playfully tease him in front of the group. Individuals? Kenpachi erupted in laughter at his audacious and confident remarks. With a confident smile, he positioned his jagged and chipped katana over his shoulder and approached Naruto. You possess a strong voice and an even greater spiritual presence to support it. What is your perspective on a confrontation with Kenpachi Zaraki of the 11th Squad? Naruto promptly declined the offer. I have now reached my annual threshold for engaging with perspiring individuals. Who stated that you possess the right? Kenpachi Zaraki, Hana interjected, her voice commanding attention throughout the chamber. Please refrain from engaging with him. Kenpachi turned his head sharply towards Hana, noticing the former criminal with her eyes closed, as if he did not merit her gaze. Indeed. Naruto's sharp instincts discerned the cause of Hana's unusual conduct. The mere mention of Kenpachi's name infused her Ryotsu with an aura of bloodlust and lethal intent, causing the temperature in the room to drop noticeably. Maintaining direct eye contact with Kenpachi Zaraki, the individual who decisively overcame her centuries prior, posed a risk of stirring her alternate persona. Her initial self, driven solely by a desire for conflict and intensity. The transformation may become irreversible as her cravings intensify in response to her ongoing suppression. Her actions will reach a peak after eliminating everyone. That's quite extreme. I have strong feelings for her, however. Seek assistance, partner. Hana's lips formed a gentle smile, though her gaze remained averted from Kenpachi. Anticipate the moment Naruto ascends to the role of captain. At that point, you are welcome to confront him. He is the future captain of my squad. Isshin swiftly joined Kenpachi, utilizing Shunpo, and directed his attention towards Naruto. Although he has consented to collaborate with the 4th Squad, he will take over my position. Hana folded her arms. I am not taking your successor. The future of my team is firmly established with Izan. Isshin let out a soft chuckle. Our future could have been jeopardized if my colleague hadn't intervened effectively in that situation. Even the assembly hall failed to elicit a serious demeanor from Isshin. Hana faced Naruto, a gentle smile gracing her lips. It is the responsibility of Shinigami to support one another. This is the sole approach we have to address the imminent challenges posed by Hollows. Alternatively, we could just send me out there, Naruto suggested. I will ensure their race ceases to exist. Unfaithful individual. Isshin chuckled. It is our responsibility to uphold the equilibrium. Eliminating Hollows will result in contrary effects. Kenpachi dismissed Isshin and faced Naruto directly. The battleman's intense gaze appeared to be imprinting the young man's face into his memory. I look forward to the day you achieve the rank of captain. We will engage in this conflict until one of us prevails over the other. Naruto displayed a concerned expression. That day is still some time away, so why not proceed? A bloodthirsty Kenpachi's mouth was split open. With a subtle acknowledgement, he approached with purpose, the chipped katana resting against his shoulder as he moved. Hana exhaled deeply, showing a clear sense of relief following Kenpachi's departure. I apologize for the interruption, Captain Commander. There's no need, Yamamoto responded, maintaining his focus on Naruto. I am willing to overlook Shunsui's transgression, provided that one condition is met. This will result in a loss of your merits. Please proceed, Naruto interjected, addressing Yamamoto. I have no desire for recognition for confronting those undesirable Hollows. Yamamoto's straightforward persuasion validated Naruto's uncertainties. Shunsui's trial was orchestrated to evaluate Naruto's demeanor, assessing his suitability for the role of captain. If this were genuinely a case requiring disciplinary measures, the Central 46 would have served as the decision-makers, rather than Yamamoto. The trial also provided Shunsui with insight into the possible consequences of his serious error. A brief expression of surprise appeared on Yamamoto's face at Naruto's lack of interest in praise, suggesting a potential shift in his perception of Naruto's character. "I will postpone Shunsui Kiraku's punishment until we have addressed the conflict initiated by the Arankars," he stated, concluding the conversation with a tap of his cane before taking his seat. "All captains are instructed to remain vigilant and ready for any possible incursion from Hueco Mundo." "Affirmative, Captain Commander." All captains present responded in unison. Naruto shared a meaningful glance with Shunsui and Nanao, sensing a subtle respect reflected in their expressions. Yamamoto's impromptu decision fostered greater loyalty from Shunsui and Nanao. He focused his attention on Unohana. "Captain, will you be visiting the 4th Squad's barracks? It appears you are eager to meet Izan." "A small amount. She experienced significant challenges." Unohana displayed a warm smile. "She is doing well, and you are welcome to meet with her. Let us proceed." "Captain Soifan." Soifan was on the verge of exiting the assembly hall behind Naruto when Yamamoto addressed her by name. She silently expressed her frustration at the possibility of missing another opportunity to engage in discussion with Naruto, yet adhering to her superior's directives remained her responsibility. Obligations must be fulfilled unless she desired to follow the path of her predecessor. As she turned, her eyes scanned the remaining captains, Sajin, Tosen, and Jin, each poised and awaiting Yamamoto's instructions. A feeling of discomfort arose within her at the sight of Captain Ichimaru, whose demeanor she found fundamentally unsettling. The inherent skepticism she felt towards Jin needed no additional explanation, as his mere presence was a source of irritation for her. Jin's gaze met hers, his well-known grin seemingly affirming her suspicions, yet she offered a nod of measured respect. "Kindly proceed with the directive to eliminate Captain Ichimaru." Soifan positioned her hands behind her back, exuding an air of attentiveness and respect in her composed stance. "I am present, Captain Commander." "Everyone except Captain Soifan has been dismissed," Yamamoto remarked, moving his eyes from Sajin to Tosen and lastly to Jin. "Captains, was I not clear?" "Yes, Commander." Jin took the lead and walked out, followed by Tosen and Sajin. Yamamoto, now alone with Soifan, cast a harsh look at the captain of the 2nd Squad. "I want you to investigate Captain Sosuke. Be covert and prioritize caution." Soifan looked bewildered for a minute. If any captain was going to be probed, it had to be Jin. Aizen, on the other hand, was as kind and courteous as they could be. What crime could he possibly conduct to justify an investigation? Her thoughts returned to previous events and Aizen's suspicious behavior, prompting a rethinking of her preconceptions. "Are you suspicious because of his presence in the living world?" Yamamoto nodded. "There are many reasons except for the reason you just mentioned." "I'll do my best," she promised with a bow. "There won't be any mistakes." Momo, Shunsui, Nanao, Isshin, and Yukitaki followed Naruto out of the assembly hall, with Yoruichi resting contentedly on Momo's head. She behaved more like a household cat than a former assassin leader. Shunsui gripped Naruto's shoulders. "I usually don't like having men in my squad, but I'm willing to make an exception for you. What do you say to that?" Naruto rolled his shoulders nonchalantly. "Convince those two first." As Naruto moved aside, Shunsui was met with frightening glances from the leaders of the 4th and 10th Squads. Without saying anything, Isshin and Unohana made their disapproval to Naruto's enlistment plain. Nanao was chilled by the strong spiritual pressure of the two fearsome leaders and took safety behind Shunsui. "Captain, it's best not to antagonize them." "I was joking," Shunsui said. "Or was I?" Unohana's narrow-eyed stare took on a menacing glitter, reminding Shunsui of the terrifying reputation of Dai Senpai. "Naruto, come. I have an irrepressible drive to create nasty puns." "You're not alone, Nami." Momo appeared at Naruto's side, trying to surreptitiously grip his hand despite the hubbub. "Let her have it. She already lost her life by joining the cult." Momo pulled on his sleeve. "Naruto-kun, should I come with you or return to the dorm?" She anticipated a pleasant rewardful experience with him as a follow-up to her confession in the living world, judging by the way she looked at him. "What do you want?" I'll do anything you want." "Ah, this precious little bitch." Yoruichi jumped through the air and landed solidly on Naruto's shoulder. "I'm back," she muttered. Did you miss me? A lot, he muttered back, roughly rubbing her chin, causing her to cry from sensory overload. Are you hungry for some milk? Yes. Hana acknowledged Yoruichi and smiled pleasantly. How did you protect the cat during the battles? Protect? This guy ditched me at the first signs of danger? Yoruichi bit his nape and hissed, as if denying his allegations. She would have given her life to defend him if she hadn't been forced to conceal her actual nature. Hana's eyes became more focused on Yoruichi's strange behaviors. His name? Yoruichi, Momo enthusiastically replied. In terms of cunningness, he takes after his master. You chose an odd name. It's a combination of several names that were all very special to me, Naruto said with a slight grin. I'll say it's an odd name for this oddly intelligent cat. Hana nodded, indicating comprehension. Fair enough. Nonetheless, a touch of mistrust lingered in her eyes, and she opted not to question him directly with the trivial matter of naming his cat after a long-dead man. Naruto avoided generating suspicion by being open about Yoruichi's identity, which reduced the probability of Hana having questions, particularly because she could readily verify the name via Toshiro or another student. I hope you would seduce her sooner. What's the hurry, young lady? Nothing. I only want to see Yoruichi and Kazuki back at their house. Hana accompanied Naruto and Momo to the Coordinated Relief Station, the 4th Squad's main medical facility. The way Aizane's Ryotsu floated across the facility led him to believe she was okay. Finally, he discovered her doing routine Kaido on Aizen to speed up his natural regeneration. Yoruichi was shaken by seeing Aizen, but she did not let it hinder her Ryotsu. Naruto, I'll return ahead. After a light scratch on her neck, he let her go. As a previous Soul Society resident, she could easily find her way back to his dormitory. Aizen gave him a well-crafted sincere grin. Look there, Katetsu-san. Captain Hana came to meet you with your friends. Izan turned around with a doubtful expression, only to be astonished by Hana. The frosting on the cake was Naruto and Momo at Hana's side, which caused her to grin widely. Captain. Naruto and Momo too. She halted, adopting a somber face. Captain recovered Rangaku from the living world. Did you manage to find Naneo? Her eyes, which were sparkling with fear of losing her companion, betrayed her effort to seem unafraid. She wasn't as close to Naneo as she was to Rangaku, but losing a member of the Shinigami Women's Association would be devastating for her. We have, Naruto said, putting an end to her anxieties. She is back to her captain's side. Izan said with relief. Oh thank goodness, Naruto. Are you alright though? You haven't rested since it all started. Hana grabbed Naruto's wrist to check his pulse. He is as healthy as one can be. Izan laughed quietly. I meant his mental state, Captain. This experience must have been taxing. Hana smiled as she gazed right into their eyes. He is fine. Naruto grinned and looked at Momo, who seemed to be staring at Aizen since she arrived here. Aizen had also maintained an unwavering gaze on Momo throughout the encounter. Aizen and his puppet Momo. Fate came full circle. Something doesn't feel right, partner. Is Momo deluding himself? We broke that damn thing. Ah. Perhaps he fixed it with some magic. Naruto was suspicious, but he didn't dismiss the possibilities. Aizen saw nothing as impossible. He gently pushed Momo, pulling her out of her daze. Momo? She moved closer, positioning herself out of Aizen's line of sight. Naruto-kun, something about him makes me uncomfortable. Perhaps Yoruichi's training or his companionship helped her become sharper and more mature. She saw through Aizen's mask. You must be Naruto Uzumaki from the academy, Aizen said with a grin and eyes shining with curiosity. I've heard a lot about you from my peers and Vice Captain Izan. Naruto smiled and hid Momo from Aizen's view since she seemed uncomfortable under his stare. I'm pretty sure Izan was just fangirling over me. She is so fond of me. Aizen's cheeks reddened from the taunting. I didn't say anything weird. Hana crossed her arms, not amused. Flirting with my vice captain when you have a girlfriend. You are quite the shameless man, Naruto. One can never have enough love, Captain, he said with a slight grin. Besides, polygamy is a thing in Soul Society, right? It is, Aizen said. Though many refrain from such measures, Shinigami seldomly falls in love. When a Shinigami does become enamored, they'll never find the drive to love someone else. Hence, Polygamy is mostly practiced within the aristocrats for ensuring worthy heirs. I don't like the way you phrased the answer. Aizen laughed quietly. I said mostly. There are still some Shinigami who are in multiple relationships, some consensual and some non-consensual. Number one would believe you were attempting to murder each other only a few hours ago. I cannot either. Naruto shakes his head. Anyway, Captain Sosuke. It's getting late. I better take Momo back to her room, or she'll pass out on me. Aizen waved his hand. It was nice exchanging romantic wisdom with you, young man. Come, visit my company whenever you're free. I will. Naruto respectfully bowed and went to face Unohana. I'm off then. Unohana escorted him and Momo away from Izan, saying, Hold on, I have one last matter that needs your attention. Come with me to visit Vice Captain Rangaku. Rangaku often had odd nightmares. Sometimes she feels euphoric, like she did in her pure youth. Sometimes sorrow, like when she was beaten in her academy days. These dreams were short-lived, only remaining in her consciousness for a few seconds after she awoke. However, the dream she had last night was so vivid and bizarre that it left her in a fog for quite some time when she awoke. As the door to her room cracked open, exposing Unohana and Naruto entering, she stayed still on her bed, remembering over the horrifying events of her dream. Dream or long-forgotten memory? Her instincts and emotions consistently indicated that everything was true. Her beating at the hands of Shinigami in Rukongai was not a fabrication of her mind. But why? Naruto sat at her side, resting a palm on her forehead. She doesn't seem sick. Are we sure Arankars didn't replace her? The Rangaku I know can never be traumatized from some beating. His move drew her out of her thinking bubble. She responded with a vacuous expression, as if she was upset by his comment. Are you still the same girl who tried forcing me into becoming an idol for the Soul Society? Captain, she is an imposter. Unohana softly squeezed Naruto's cheekbones. You might be responsible for her change. You're Zanpakuto, to be precise. Well, I'm not sure myself. Naruto shook his head. I only healed her, then this happened. He had healed her in the heat of the moment, not thinking that he may also be healing her incomplete soul. His Zanpakuto ability healed Shiruchi's Zanpakuto, which was also a portion of her soul. There was no reason he couldn't rebuild the portion of her soul that Aizen had removed to finish his Hogyoku. The Hogyoku is in his hands. This? Rangaku inquired with a piercing glance. Young man, what do you mean by this? Speak or I'll throw you to the thirsty maidens of the Shinigami Women's Association. Look at yourself. Naruto stretched out and ran his fingers through her hair, drawing attention to her incredibly long hair. Your hair can reach your ankles now. Rangaku grabbed her hair, surprise. Well, when did this happen? And why? I have a theory. But before that, do you feel anything different from before? Anything? She laughed gently, as if she were a patient being examined. No, I feel normal, healthier than before. I feel refreshed. The change can't just be physical. It can be spiritual as well. Like something you felt during your sleep. Rangaku's carefree smile changed suddenly, and her wide eyes revealed a hint of awareness. There is this strange dream I saw earlier. I don't know if you can even call it a dream. She described long repressed recollections of her younger self being beaten almost unconscious by a gang of persons costumed similarly like Shinigami. They had towered over her injured body, muttering about spirits and an experiment. That's all I can remember off the top of my head. Unohana assumed a more grave tone, realizing that the dream may be inextricably tied to the mystery surrounding Rangaku's transformation. How long ago do you believe it happened? We can't investigate it without a concrete timeline. It was before my growth spurt, when I was like a little pipsqueak, Rangaku recalled, rubbing the back of her head with a shy grin. To be more precise, it was around the time Captain Ichimaru joined the Shino Academy. It should be enough to get the investigation off the ground. There's something more, Rangaku said earnestly, clutching Unohana's shoulders. My Zanpakuto? I can't communicate with it. Hinata is completely unresponsive. Naruto felt himself clicking his tongue in irritation. Muramasa had began his strategy at the Soul Society. Naruto suspected Muramasa was manipulating others to join the renegade Zanpakuto spirit's side. Muramasa would steal Zanpakuto spirits until he was confident enough to breach the seal on his master, Koga Kuchiki. Naruto had to restrain Muramasa before he could accomplish his desire. What? Hana said with amazement. Weren't you very close with Hineka? How did this happen all of a sudden? Hana cherished Rangaku's use of her Zanpakuto spirit to express her experience. Rangaku massaged the back of her neck. If I had to take a shot for all the times Hineka called me, old hag, and, washed up lady, I'd be wasted for days. She didn't spare an opportunity to mock my age. Naruto laughed. People don't joke around like that with strangers. Hana nodded with a nod, still perplexed by the mystery. They stuck with each other for this long. Hineka wouldn't distance herself from you, unless you had a big fallout. It was unusual for Shinigami to lose connection with Zanpakuto spirits, although it sometimes occurred due to personality disagreements. Hineka is somewhat childish and impulsive. I won't find it surprising if she is mad at me for something small. Well, Naruto said. We can have someone look at your Zanpakuto. We should have some specialists for that, right? Hana nodded before shaking it. He is a royal guard. The creator of Zanpakuto, Etsu Nimaya. Getting him to come down from the palace is near impossible. Rangaku blinked with amazement. It's better he doesn't come. I don't want to mingle with the likes of the royal guards. She didn't mind socializing, but the royal guard were an exception. She'd prefer finish her paperwork than make a request to the Soul King's powerful bodyguards. Naruto crossed his arms. Why don't you rest and recover? I'll find a way to fix things for you. I fixed mine before, so have some confidence in me. Rangaku smiled at his forthright manner of assuring her. Your Zanpakuto went through something similar, right? I'll gladly accept your assistance. She snaked an arm over Naruto's shoulder, slyly smiling. Help me, and I'll be your wingman with Izan. He almost rolled his eyes. I don't need help with that. Just take me out for a treat, and we'll be even. As if he would ever need assistance in seducing ladies. Rangaku pulled back, sighing in despair. You're lost then. Naruto only received the offer for assistance in pursuing the cinnamon roll Izan because of his strong relationship with the two. She knew Izan had a thing on him, and helping them get together would put her in their good graces. Hana turned to face him, her eyes filled with curiosity. Did your Zanpakuto spirit also go silent? She was scheming a strange plan, he said with a light grin, dismissing the issue. I'll leave the story for another day. Captain, I'll be heading for my dorms now. Next time I'll meet you as a full-fledged Shinigami. Hana grinned. Feel free to prolong your stay at the academy if you wish to spend more time with your friends. She wanted him to appreciate his academy experience since it would never return. The obligation, on the other hand, would continue as long as the Soul Society remained. Rangaku grabbed Naruto's shoulder, carefully fixing her hair to direct his attention to her most striking feature. Nay, Naruto. Do you want to stay at the academy or be an adult with us, partner? She is asking to be mind-broken. Naruto burned the enticing scene into his thoughts before pushing Rangaku aside. Momo and Shiro will be more motivated to train if I leave the academy. His ambitions would become stagnant in the school, which was the last thing he wanted with an opponent like Aizen. Hana shook her head, recognizing she was not dealing with an ordinary individual. Naruto was a nutcase who sought to become an unkillable demon by learning Kaido. I gave you the advice. The decision is up to you. Naruto scooped up Momo, who was waiting for him at Aizen's side, and returned to the dormitory. He opened the door softly while concealing his Ryotsu and peered inside. Toshiro was spotted seated on the bed, meditating with his Zanpakuto on his lap. He would have looked awesome if not for the rice flecks around his lips. While Naruto and Momo were away, the silver prodigy feasted. A grumble from his gut made him realize he wasn't getting enough sustenance. He hadn't eaten anything since the supper he had with Momo and the others in the cafeteria. Worse, he pushed himself beyond his capabilities. He could eat like Goku now. Hold up, buddy. That's Rukia at the window. He diverted his attention to see the little black-haired girl standing at the window. From her rear profile, she seemed unkempt, with her hair messier than normal. Either Renji or Toshiro informed her about the hollows at the living world, which made her very concerned about Naruto and Momo's safety. Or maybe she felt lost at the prospect of never seeing Naruto again. He had informed them that he would not be returning from the field trip and would instead remain at the Gote 13. Naruto pushed open the door with a nonchalant, "I'm back." Rukia and Toshiro turned to face the entrance, their expressions quickly brightening as they saw Naruto and Momo. Naruto felt warm as he saw Rukia and Toshiro's expressions of relief. They sincerely valued him as a friend. Then, he had done a lot to cement his position in their hearts. Will it remain the same once they realize your hollow nature? Ignoring the crazy noise within his thoughts, he brushed Toshiro's hair. Don't you remember what Yoruichi said? Meditating to merge your thoughts with Zanpakuto is only good in moderation. Give Hiranmaru time to rest and gather energy. Toshiro clenched his fist, veins bulging on his skinny wrist. I'm frustrated how weak I am compared to Arrancar's. Hiranmaru is also angry at his weakness and wants to grow strong as quickly as possible. Hiranmaru was a powerful and prideful dragon. Arrancar's almost neutralized the dragon's freezing abilities, motivating him to achieve new heights for his pride and to defend those around him. Forget about that. Rukia almost screamed. All my class 1 friends look like they went through hell. Rennie looks traumatized whenever I bring up the topic of a field trip. Just what the heck happened out there? She had attempted to question Toshiro, but he merely dismissed her with the "I must practice more" excuse. The silver-haired kid hadn't moved a muscle since supper. Rukia wanted to know what had traumatized her friends so she could assist them. Naruto massaged the back of his neck. It's a long story. Why don't we talk about it during dinner? You can go without me, Toshiro said. I already filled my belly with some rice cakes. Momo retrieved a handkerchief from her pocket and cleansed Toshiro's face. We can see what you ate, just don't overdo it like Naruto-kun said. You shouldn't be the one saying that to me, Toshiro muttered, alluding to the times Momo went beyond for Naruto. Since you requested it, I'll only train for 6 more hours. Momo folded her arms, appearing dissatisfied. Naruto-kun, let him train. You can sleep in my room tonight. Nami giggled as she continued. This sly little slut. How can someone not appreciate this creature? Naruto shrugged. Sure, he noted Rukia's wide-eyed expression, but he didn't care. Rukia and Momo, after all, shared a single room. He'd sleep in the same bed as them. There are a lot of chances to tease her. He got a sick pleasure from Rukia's scarlet face. The same sick enjoyment he received from making fun of Mila Rose. A yandere and a sadist. My boyfriend is turning into a one-of-a-kind monster. And I love it. Momo smiled brightly and pulled Rukia and his hand to the cafeteria. Rukia wouldn't let him eat in peace, so he had to explain her what was going on as he was cramming his mouth. Momo also raised some questions since she wasn't really involved in what was going on. As predicted, Momo had stars in her eyes after hearing the full story. Rukia looked amazed. Rukia was born in the Rukongai district, and the first time he heard a good tale was when he told it himself. The narrative gave her a fresh excitement that made her heart race. Momo smiled and put her face into her hands. I fell in love with the right guy. Rukia moved her chair a little bit away from Momo and cleared her throat. You made everything better for everyone. I thought you were just excellent at picking on other people. Naruto gave her a nasty look. I guess my twin helped you with the kuchikas. Rukia stopped for a while and seemed a bit shy. Okay, that was also a thing. It seems like I've always been a member of the Kuchikis. She had become used to seeing her sister and her brother-in-law, who was a little stiff, in only a few weeks. Just goes to show how much your sister loves you, he replied, yawning. I'm tired. Can we go to bed now? Momo murmured, in my room. To a night of passion. Rukia's joy vanished, and her face became red. Shit, she said under her breath. Momo, you didn't ask me whether it was okay. We live together, don't we? Momo smiled. Today is his final day at the academy. I want to build more memories with him here. I know my best buddy will give me the opportunity. Rukia couldn't help but grin shyly when someone named her best friend. You know my heart isn't built of stone. You all may do what you want. I'll sleep peacefully in the corner. Thanks, Rukia. My yandere-loving spouse wanted to witness this kind of growth, from being controlled to controlling her closest friend. Rukia giggling with Momo, even though Momo was messing with her, simply demonstrated how stupid she was. Where did Yoruichi go? He remembered her vow to meet him in the dorm room and used all of his senses to look for her Ryotsu. He couldn't detect it anywhere in the Soul Society. What does your gut tell you? Aha. Your instincts are the best since you are virtually flawless. You can trust them even when you're not fighting. He shut his eyes and wrinkled his forehead as he focused. He couldn't discover the gut feeling, But he did uncover something far more important at the time. Yoruichi's Ryotsu. He felt it for a second before it was gone. Either she held back her Ryotsu. It's changing. Yoruichi's last form, Shunko. Raiju Senkei. Shunryu Kokubyo Senki, made her Ryotsu as unpredictable as a cat's mood, altering its signature 48 times in 1 second. Did she change into her hollow form? I'll have to see it for myself. Yoruichi was more careful as she went back to the hostel after what had happened recently. Aizen maintained a foothold over the Soul Society even without the Kyoka Suigetsu, and he also knew her secret identity. The former assassin has seen the effects of being reckless firsthand. If she makes another mistake, everyone around her might die. She wouldn't have cared much about this result in the past. But after getting to know Naruto, Momo, Toshiro, and a lot of lovely Arrancar ladies. No, the cat-loving Shinigami didn't want to leave a lot of unhappy people behind. Hey, I'm becoming into him more and more. She thought it was unusual and funny that one occurrence could have such a big impact. The incident changed her life, however, giving her the abilities of the creatures she used to cleanse and a second existence within her soul. A lot of bear-like aggressiveness crammed within raw cat instincts. With these ideas in her head, she successfully made it back to the dorm room, which was mostly empty for the time being. Shiro is having a nice meal. The prospect of supper made her want the milky white drink. Yoruichi decided to go out to grab some milk since she knew that Naruto would see Izan and Rangaku before coming back. I can also get some from the cafeteria. Every cat had complete control over milk in 3 areas, and her cat shape was no different. No one could stop her from obtaining what was rightly hers. Yoruichi then went to the cafe and ate as much creamy milk as she wanted. When she got back to the hostel, she saw a familiar figure outside Naruto's room. It was her replacement in the second squad. Did she come for Naruto? She walked up to Soifan and pointed at the door because she was curious. Meow. Soifan gazed down at Yoruichi and frowned. Do you want me to let you in? Meow. Soifan put a hand on the door and gently pulled it open. Soifan drew her hand back and knelt down to grasp for Yoruichi's cat ears just as Yoruichi was ready to go in. Yoruichi snarled and ran away, not letting even her old student touch her. Soifan laughed. You are really something, Yoruichi-sama. You can do everything from killing people to turning into a cat. Yoruichi's golden eyes became bigger. She blamed Naruto for giving Soifan such a big clue about her being in the Soul Society as she lowered her head. Meow. I didn't know for sure it was you until I saw how you and Naruto acted in the assembly hall. Your body may have altered, but your black pupils always became bigger when you were delighted. Your disguise can fool everyone else in the world, but not me. Yoruichi couldn't help but get chills. Naruto wasn't lying when he said that Soifan was obsessed with her. It was scary, far worse than what Momo had for Naruto. Soifan, what the heck do you want from me? Yoruichi almost admitted who she was because she didn't want to hear any more unusual things about herself. Soifan's eyes were wet as she heard Yoruichi's soothing voice. Yoruichi-sama. Yoruichi opened the door and jumped on the bed. Soifan went in behind her and closed the door, keeping everyone out of the conversation that was about to happen. Yoruichi squinted her eyes. Soifan, I'm going with Naruto to see what he's really capable of. Can you keep my name a secret? Yoruichi hadn't lied to Soifan. She had chosen to remain and see how far Naruto could go with her help, even after her role in the Soul Society was over. Soifan crossed her arms, and her eyes lit up with desire. Yoruichi-sama, you are an outcast. Every Shinigami has the authority to arrest you now that you're here. You may either die as a warrior or spend hundreds of years in Central Great Underground Prison. It's up to you. The young girl who used to be scared of Yoruichi suddenly stepped up to her master, ready to do her job. Yoruichi scowled and looked closely at Soifan. When she saw the fire in Soifan's eyes, she changed her mind about what she thought Soifan was trying to do. Her beloved student from the previous century planned to get back at her by coming out of her predecessor's shadow and taking the titles of the finest Onmitsukido leader and the best captain of the second squad. Yoruichi laughed out loud. My dear, the duty is just a cover for what you really want. Soifan made fists before pointing at Yoruichi. As long as I follow the law, my reasons don't matter. And the law said you were a criminal a long time ago. Yoruichi turned her head. Okay, I accept your challenge. I will remind you why I was the master and you were the student. She quickly sprang out the window, her dark form flashing from one building to the next. Soi Fan had fought Naruto in martial arts before, but Yoruichi didn't think she would employ the same moves against her. Because of this, they couldn't fight in the academy because their strong spiritual energy would mess up the order there. Soi Fan used her own shunpo to follow Yoruichi, trusting her old teacher to honor her promise. Yoruichi didn't take them away from the Seirei. Instead, she took them further into it. Yoruichi ultimately halted in the middle of a forest, where a long flight of steps led to a temple-like building. Yoruichi-sama, what made you come here? Soi Fan was confused by Yoruichi's choice to take her into her home turf, the fancy barracks of the second squad, where she could get help at any moment. Yoruichi showed her teeth. To grab my old clothes. You want to fight me without clothes on? Soi Fan's eyes became bigger and her cheeks got red. She turned aside and coughed. Not that it will make a difference. Yoruichi rolled her eyes at what Soi Fan said. Yoruichi pointed to the shade of a large oak tree in the thick forest. Can you dig there, Soi Fan? She had hidden a store of clothing, food, and other emergency supplies in case someone mistakenly accused her of a serious crime. People in her field of business often shifted responsibility onto others without a second thought. She wanted to be ready in case things became worse, and sadly, that framing did happen. The victim wasn't her. It was her childhood buddy. She didn't have time to get her things back then since she had to leave the Soul Society quickly. Soi Fan's eyebrows furrowed at the suggestion, and she looked angry. I won't do what you want. Yoruichi was scheduled to battle Soi Fan to the death, but she didn't seem to care about the fight at all. She really wanted to meet Yoruichi, but she couldn't stand how Yoruichi didn't care about anything. The captain of the second squad got too near to her boundaries. Yoruichi didn't appear to be bothered at all by Soi Fan's mounting anger. Soi Fan, Naruto is a smart boy. He won't have any trouble writing a tale about the most humiliating things that have happened to you. Yoruichi openly and unapologetically issued a threat to her former disciple, a clear indication of the influence of Naruto's group on her behavior. She was largely oblivious to the transformation that Naruto's influence had instigated within her. Soi Fan, however, could distinctly perceive the similarities between her former mentor and the individual who had casually issued a death threat against her previously. Soi Fan clenched her jaw and asserted, I have nothing to be ashamed of. Yoruichi let out a soft chuckle, her gaze sharpening with intent. Did you overlook the moment you experienced an accident? I understand. Soi Fan interrupted Yoruichi, preventing her from disclosing the most profound and troubling memory. The sole recollection that Soi Fan planned to carry with her to the grave. It's simply excavation. I can handle it for you. Soi Fan exhibited a strong-willed nature, characterized by her resolute convictions and assertive demeanor. However, she was not inclined to disclose her most vulnerable and embarrassing moments to the entire Soul Society. She was unable to uphold her dignity in the absence of respect for her character. Yoruichi moistened her lips, revealing her fangs. Thank you. Unfortunately, I am unable to assist with the digging at this moment. Please refrain from sharing your excuses. Soi Fan responded with a dismissive snort. What is the required depth for excavation? Approximately 6 feet. Following this, I will ensure your final resting place is 6 feet beneath the surface, Soi Fan quietly asserted. I assure you. Yoruichi chuckled softly. We will evaluate that in due course. Soi Fan, the captain of the second squad and leader of Onmitsukido, firmly clenched her fist and struck the ground with determination. Rather than employing conventional digging techniques, she struck the ground, forming small craters. The physical exertion briefly diverted her attention from the complex blend of frustration, annoyance, and residual affection that swirled inside her. Her heart pulsed consistently within her chest, aligning with the methodical impacts of her fists against the ground. Despite her earlier concerns, Soi Fan did not experience any sense of humiliation. A profound sense of fulfillment accompanied the support provided to Yoruichi. The perspiration ran down Soi Fan's forehead, blending with the grime that adhered to her skin. Engrossed in her memories, she meticulously carved a hole that expanded significantly, ultimately reaching a depth of over 10 meters. Proceed with caution, Tiger, Yoruichi advised. I would prefer to avoid any damage to my bags. Soi Fan acknowledged with a nod and then relaxed her grip, expertly shaping her hands into claws to methodically excavate the earth. Before long, She identified a black piece of cloth protruding from the soil. She looked up and a smile appeared on her face without her realizing it. I have located it. Wow! Yoruichi exclaimed with enthusiasm. Please, present it. Soifan extracted the bag from the ground and discarded it from the hole. Rising to her feet, she leapt into the air and successfully grasped the bag. With a poised and elegant landing, she arrived before Yoruichi. Yoruichi encouraged Soifan to set aside the bag and disclose what it contained. Soifan retrieved the knife concealed in her sleeve and deftly cut open the bag. The view of the purple clothing at the top made her serious demeanor fade, and her cheeks flushed a deep shade of red. Yoruichi found herself amused by Soifan's naive response. My previous undergarments. They represented a level of luxury during a time when loincloths were the norm. Could you please explain the rationale behind placing it on top? To playfully provoke unsuspecting individuals like yourself, Yoruichi remarked. Please take the bag. There is a hot spring in close proximity. We can enjoy a brief dip before commencing our match. Yoruichi extended a sincere invitation to Soifan, expressing her wish for Soifan to be at her best during the duel. Martial artists at that level frequently experience one or two undiagnosed injuries. The unique hot springs would relieve Soifan's fatigue and assist her in recovering from any injuries. However, Soifan exhibited a reaction that was entirely unforeseen. Her cheeks flushed so deeply that Yoruichi could nearly envision steam rising from her head. You seem to have quite the imagination, Yoruichi commented, accompanied by a roll of her eyes. What thoughts are you currently entertaining? Soifan expressed her frustration through a firm stomp of her feet, grappling with her overwhelming embarrassment. It was a vivid memory. I was reflecting on my initial visit to the hot springs. I sustained an injury during a challenging mission, and you took me there to aid in my recovery. In her early days, Soifan was a novice, possessing power comparable to that of the lower-ranked seated officers. Despite her lower status, Yoruichi treated her with kindness and fostered a sense of friendship. A moment like that would never happen after Kazuki negatively impacted Yoruichi's life. She had never experienced the inclination to inflict harm on anyone, yet she would certainly consider making an exception for Kazuki. Facing eternal damnation would be a small price to pay for the opportunity to confront the deceitful and manipulative childhood friend of Yoruichi. Perceiving an escalating sense of hostility, Yoruichi placed a reassuring hand on Soifan's thigh. Are you eager to confront me? Soifan acknowledged with a blank expression. Yoruichi-sama, might you consider altering the terms of our duel? Yoruichi observed with surprise the change in Soifan's demeanor. What are your thoughts on this? If I were to defeat you, you would reveal Kazuki Urahara's current location. He must be held accountable for his actions. I find it hard to understand why you continue to feel jealousy towards Kazuki, Yoruichi remarked, shaking her head in disbelief. I am confident in my success, however, I cannot agree to your terms. The reason is simple. It is disrespectful to him. Soifan clenched her jaw, appearing frustrated by Yoruichi's fervent defense of Kazuki. You are merely delaying. His recent actions have provided us with ample leads regarding his whereabouts. His transgressions are beginning to catch up with him. Stop being overly dramatic. Yoruichi paused, her eyes widening at the latter part of Soifan's words. Could you clarify which recent actions you are referring to? Soifan appeared somewhat perplexed by Yoruichi's exaggerated tone. The incursion of Arankars has been confirmed. Captain Yamamoto possesses evidence indicating that Kazuki Urahara orchestrated these events. Numerous lives would be at stake without the intervention of your ally, Naruto. Naruto's actions dispelled any doubts among all parties involved. Soifan held the view that Kazuki Urahara had meticulously planned everything without the awareness of Yoruichi and Naruto, as they were both present in the Soul Society throughout the entire situation. Yoruichi expressed her displeasure with a snarl. You may hold your own beliefs. However, the reality is far more astonishing than anything you could imagine. Yoruichi lacked the energy and patience to address Soifan's long-standing resentment accumulated over the years. It has not been successful in the past, and it is unlikely to be successful today as well. She had long acknowledged that Kazuki and Soifan would consistently remain at odds in any timeline. Soifan sensed that Yoruichi possessed a significant revelation, a truth that could potentially alter the course of events. Very well, I will amend my condition. She cleared her throat. Upon my victory, you will disclose the truth you allude to. Yoruichi chuckled. Understood. However, what are the implications if you do not succeed? You attain your freedom. Yoruichi gestured with her paw. I must insist that you respect my privacy and ensure my identity remains confidential. Additionally, it is imperative that Naruto remains uninvolved in any matters related to our duel, irrespective of the outcome. He should not be burdened by my mistakes. Soy Fan closed her eyes and exhaled softly. You consistently prioritize his needs over your own. What actions has he taken to warrant this treatment? Much more than you might expect, Yoruichi stated, maintaining her relaxed demeanor. To begin with, his intention is to ensure my safety. You, as my former disciple, have intentions that are quite the opposite. It is only logical to prioritize him over you, wouldn't you agree? Soy Fan and Yoruichi arrived at their destination, the hot spring pool. Even after a century, the water flowing into the natural pool continues to maintain its warmth. The days I dedicated to training here to build my strength, Yoruichi remarked, a clear sense of nostalgia evident in her tone. 100 years have gone by, and I still have not reached my full potential. Her ceiling had further expanded due to her hollowification. She was open to acquiring new skills, provided they were enjoyable. Fortunately, she had an ideal companion to instruct her in hollow abilities while also providing engaging entertainment. Soy Fan's eyes reflected a deep sense of disappointment as she shook her head. Your potential remains untapped, as you have distanced yourself from challenges. Yoruichi chuckled, her eyes gleaming with delight. Anticipate this unfit young woman to outperform you significantly. Soy Fan emitted a dismissive snort before proceeding to remove her shiakusho. Yoruichi reverted to her original form and gracefully dipped her toes into the warm water. It feels quite pleasant. With that, she gracefully entered the hot spring, sending water splashing onto the taken aback Soy Fan. What are you standing there for? Soy Fan raised her arm and indicated the twitching cat ears adorning Yoruichi's head. Yoruichi-sama, may I inquire if those are genuine? Excuse me? These? Yoruichi inquired as she gently pinched her ears. You witnessed my transformation from cat to my true form. When did I have the opportunity to put these on? However, you may be curious about the reason for my possession of them, correct? Soy Fan gave a measured nod of her head. They were not in your possession previously. I also wasn't in exile before, Yoruichi stated, shrugging before a grin appeared on her face. They appear quite charming, however. Certainly, I am eager to engage in some playful banter. Yoruichi suddenly halted as her Ryotsu surged, causing the water to tremble. Her eyes narrowed as she tugged at her cat ear. This foolish cat. Her hollow self represented the essence of a wild feline, which inherently possessed a strong aversion to water. The intensity of the aversion caused her Ryotsu to become unstable. The hollow self exerted considerable effort to gain control of Yoruichi and extract her from the water. Yoruichi-sama? Soy Fan inquired, perplexed. What is occurring with you? Yoruichi disregarded the perplexed Soy Fan and maintained her position, arms crossed, in the hot spring pool. Become accustomed to this, as I will not budge. Soy Fan stepped out of Yoruichi's view and removed her clothing entirely, securing a white towel around her form. She had previously bathed with Yoruichi, but she did not feel comfortable with the current Yoruichi. Yoruichi's manic laughter resonated behind Soy Fan. I will ensure you maintain your cleanliness and hygiene standards. Soy Fan approached the hot spring with a sense of trepidation, her body trembling as she stepped inside. Yoruichi-sama, your Ryotsu is exhibiting unusual behavior, and it's becoming quite unsettling. Could you please explain what's happening? Yoruichi opened her eyes, displaying a confident grin. Please, carry on and enjoy the hot spring. Could you please remove the towel you're wearing? Soy Fan tightened her grip on the towel. No, Yoruichi's eyebrows twitched. The integrity and cultural importance of hot springs are being compromised. The towel should be positioned on your head, rather than wrapped around your waist. Soy Fan attempted to present her case, yet Yoruichi decisively quelled her objections with her commanding presence. Ultimately, Yoruichi left her with no alternative but to be entirely unclothed in the hot spring. Guided by Yoruichi's Ryotsu, Naruto ventured deep into a dense forest. He began to feel a sense of concern. He was unable to detect any other Ryotsu that matched the level of his preferred black cat. If she were engaged in a confrontation, her adversary would not be able to conceal her Ryotsu to the extent of becoming undetectable to his spiritual senses. The second and more concerning possibility of Yoruichi's erratic Ryotsu involved her losing control to her hollow side. With a sense of skepticism and concern, he entered a concealed cave. As he progressed deeper, the shadows receded to unveil a spacious cavern, showcasing a prominent wall featuring a solitary sliding door. His heart quickened as he detected Yoruichi's recognizable Ryotsu coming from the opposite side. He confidently pushed the door aside, entering a room shrouded in a misty haze, with steam rising from the natural hot springs that enveloped the space. Not far from the entrance, he observed the dark-skinned catgirl enjoying her time in the hot spring. Although her back was turned to him, he could not mistake her unique features for anyone else's. He observed the familiar, well-defined back of the dark-skinned woman who was comfortably situated not far from the entrance. Yoruichi. He had been diligently searching for her, anticipating that she would be involved in a fierce confrontation with Aizen or another captain. Here she was, taking pleasure in her time at a hot spring. What surprised him was the presence of another woman in the steamy waters. Naruto. The assassin quickly shielded her modesty and fixed him with a fierce glare, radiating an unmistakable intent to kill. Depart before I. Yoruichi struck the surface of the pool, creating a splash that landed directly on Soifan's face. Calm down, young pup. Leaning back against the warm stones, Yoruichi glanced over her shoulder. Please remove your clothing and participate with us. This water possesses the ability to rejuvenate both your body and mind. Such an opportunity may not present itself again. Soifan refrained from voicing her dissent regarding Yoruichi's wishes, yet her eyes clearly conveyed her intentions to him. The message conveyed through her intense glare was unmistakable. Entering with her would be a grave mistake. A calculated smile appeared on Naruto's lips as he reached for his belt, deftly unfastening it in one seamless motion. Despite Soifan's objections, he proceeded to remove his clothing, much to her displeasure. My partner's assertiveness is quite appealing to me. While he wasn't excessively cruel, causing emotional distress to a bully like Soifan consistently brought him satisfaction. He derived great satisfaction from exerting control over those who were already marginalized. Partner, kiss Yoruichi. The individual would undoubtedly react with extreme intensity. Not at this moment. After removing all his garments, he settled into a position next to Yoruichi, who confidently and openly displayed herself to him. He displayed a subtle smile. In due time, there will be consequences for your allure. The corners of her eyes crinkled, a clear indication of happiness. You were unable to rest without ensuring my well-being. Naruto exhaled deeply. I was under the impression that you had been apprehended by him and were engaged in a struggle for your survival. Yoruichi halted, her demeanor shifting to one of seriousness. She pulled him closer, positioning his arm between her soft, yielding curves. My other self was expressing frustration over water. She became composed upon your arrival. It seems she appreciates your presence. Naruto regarded the situation with a look of astonishment. His recent engagements with Yoruichi's hollow were not particularly favorable, as he had manipulated her into a state of slumber, allowing Yoruichi to assume control of her body. He unexpectedly became the preferred individual of the hollow. It is straightforward, partner. She is attracted to assertive and commanding individuals. He found it difficult to dispute Nami's reasoning when the evidence was right in front of him. Yoruichi's Ryotsu had indeed stabilized to its usual state now that he had joined her in the hot spring. The hollow cat genuinely appreciated the company he kept. Did you charm her while I was asleep? Yoruichi whispered in a smooth, almost alluring tone. Feel free to share your thoughts with me. I assure you, there will be no judgment. The skilled former assassin crafted her initial honey trap to obtain his confidential information. She, however, overlooked the fact that she was engaging with a man who possessed extensive experience with women from 3 realms. I choose you over a kitten, he murmured, his voice enchanting the catgirl, as he gently pressed his lips against her damp neck. I hold you in high regard. Yoruichi inhaled deeply, firmly grasping his arm. Her breath quickened, her heart racing in her chest. Naruto, I have an important message to convey to you. He swallowed hard, experiencing a growing sense of anticipation in his thoughts. The enthusiasm she exhibited instilled in him a sense of optimism, that Yoruichi was prepared to express her feelings for him. The likelihood of it all being a lighthearted effort to provoke him was significant, yet he was prepared to embrace the possibility. With a vacant expression, she looked up, her eyes lacking clarity and direction. Naruto, I desire your presence. Author's note. Soy Fan is featured in the background. In the meantime, Yoruichi, I would like you to excuse myself for a moment. Soy Fan interjected, her patience wearing thin as she confronted the lighthearted exchange between Yoruichi and Naruto. I would like you to serve as the judge for my duel against Soy Fan. Yoruichi concluded her proposal with a confident smile. Are you able to accomplish that? Naruto's lips twisted into a grimace. The cold stare from his eyes instilled a sense of unease in Yoruichi, halting her heart momentarily. Yoruichi, please refrain from communicating with me in the future. Yoruichi's eyes expanded in surprise. I believe you may be overreacting. He discreetly shook his head and stepped away from Yoruichi. Assuming a relaxed position in the pool, he closed his eyes, ready to rest in the soothing water. Demonstrate the repercussions of her actions on your emotions, then encourage her to consider a commitment to marriage. Nami, I kindly ask that you refrain from overthinking. He wasn't ignoring her to manipulate her feelings, but rather offering her a glimpse of the emotional impact her actions had on him. HMPH, meanwhile, Yoruichi regarded him with complete astonishment. As she approached, she gently pulled at his arm to gain his attention, yet he remained unresponsive. Feeling defeated, she stepped back and rubbed the back of her head, contemplating a solution to the issue at hand. I will allow him some time to gather his thoughts. The confrontation with Soy Fan was significant, yet he did not take the initiative to inquire about it. From this alone, she could perceive the extent of his anger. He was genuinely displeased with her, and there were valid reasons for his feelings. She had overstepped by instilling hope in him only to withdraw it later. He may simply overlook my presence. The prospect of concluding their somewhat immature yet close relationship caused her considerable emotional distress. Naruto had numerous romantic interests to rely on, but she had only him. Hiss, you are misbehaving, came the stern voice of her hollow from her inner world. Approach pet. Yoruichi's somber demeanor was lifted by the playful reprimand from her hollow. She was uncertain whether to respond with laughter or tears regarding her hollow's treatment of Naruto as if he were a pet. At what point did you acquire the ability to communicate effectively? Come Unicat. Forget it. She shook her head. Soy Fan, would you be amenable to postponing our duel to another day? I am not inclined to engage in conflict at this moment. Soy Fan dismissed the idea with a shake of her head. We can address this matter at a later time. She aimed to overcome Yoruichi, who was fully engaged in the battle. The Yoruichi in front of her appeared distracted and conflicted by various thoughts. She recognized that defeating Yoruichi in this condition would not bring her any sense of accomplishment. Yoruichi nodded and looked at Naruto. When do you plan to return? I will see you later. How long though? 30 minutes, understood. The atmosphere was tense as Soy Fan looked him, her gaze probing for answers. Eventually, she emerged from the hot spring, water droplets glistening on her skin, and stepped out of the pool. After donning her attire, she bid farewell to Yoruichi and departed the area. Naruto observed Yoruichi with his left eye. She was positioned in the pool, with only her head emerging from the water. Indeed, that expression conveys a sense of regret. It would be best to give her some space. He took a few additional minutes before exiting the pool to put on his clothes. Yoruichi stepped out of the water, her smooth figure shining softly in the low light. She picked up a towel and started to clean herself carefully, making sure to give special attention to her cat ears and tail. Hold on for a sec. She dried off in a flash and transformed into her cat form. Could you grab this bag for me? Naruto looked over at the black bag. What about your clothes? Sure. As he picked up the bag, she leapt onto his head, her weight hardly making a difference. Make sure to hide your Ryotsu and use Shunpo. He nodded to her request and made his way to the dormitory. Yoruichi looked at the door in front of her. Why are we hanging out outside Momo's room? Shiro's over at the mine training, Naruto replied. Today's my last day here. I'm going to hang out with Momo and Rukia. Yoruichi hopped onto Naruto's shoulder and gave his cheek a sweet lick. I won't bother you then. Sweet dreams. And she quietly slipped away into the night's shadows. Wow, I didn't realize how thoughtful she really is. She seemed a bit down. Hang in there, partner. She should really put in more effort to win you back. He shook his head and walked through the door, setting the bag down by the wall. Momo and Rukia were all snuggled up on the bed, looking like they were in a deep sleep, or at least that's how it appeared. He was a bit unsure about Momo's actual state of rest since her spiritual energy seemed to be buzzing more than Rukia's, at least on paper. Momo peeked her head out from under the blanket and flashed him her biggest smile, almost like she was confirming his suspicions. Naruto. Naruto put a finger to his lips, telling her to keep it down, since Rukia was fast asleep. Momo nodded seriously and moved to the edge of the bed, creating some distance between her and Rukia. Is that meant for me? Momo nodded. Come here. He wasn't one to feel ashamed, so he slid right into the spot between the best friends. Lying next to him, Momo couldn't help but wear a big smile, feeling like she was floating on cloud 9. Naruto-kun. She said softly, gently placing her hand on his face. Is it possible for us to? It was pretty easy to figure out what she was getting at with her unfinished request. He rolled onto his side to face the eager girl, who was looking forward to some affection. Just so you know, Rukia is sleeping right next to us. I really don't care. She's already aware of our relationship. Also. She took a moment, pulling the blanket over them, bringing them in a little tighter. Their breaths intertwined in the cozy atmosphere. She can't see us right now. He let out a little laugh. What do you feel like doing? Kiss? She asked, a bit shyly, her cheeks flushing a light pink. I'm new to this, so I could really use your guidance. Sure, feel free to do whatever you like. His eyes sparkled with curiosity, excited to see just how wild a girl obsessed with him could get, and how far she could push herself using just her instincts and what she knew. They both just looked at each other, Naruto staying calm and patient, while Momo was a bit lost on what to do or say next. The silence lingered, and Momo's impatience bubbled up, wanting something more than just lying there and gazing at him. She was hoping for more from him. She longed to be wrapped in his warm embrace and breathe in his scent. She really wanted his lips on hers. It was something she had been dreaming about for months. She was eager to turn her dreams into reality. I want to try kissing, Momo said softly. Is it okay if I? Momo gave him a silent nod, then took his face in her hands and kissed him. The quick, close connection had her letting out a soft moan. Momo was absolutely thrilled. After a few seconds of kissing, Momo leaned in even closer and pressed her against his lips, making the kiss even deeper. Once she felt Naruto's lips on hers, she wished that moment would last forever. She really wished she could just keep kissing him like this forever, without having to take a breath, lost in the moment for days and nights. Unfortunately, she had to step away from him for a moment to catch her breath. Haha. Was it any good? Naruto ran his thumb across his wet lips and flashed a gentle smile. It's pretty good. The simple compliment sparked a fire in her eyes. She pressed her lips against Naruto's more firmly with every kiss. With every kiss that followed, she leaned in closer, her lips meeting his with increasing intensity, her thoughts slipping away, leaving only pure desire. While Momo and Naruto were catching their breath, Momo playfully stuck her tongue out and pressed it against his lips. To her surprise, he quickly responded and opened his lips, letting her tongue slip into his mouth. They kept their lips locked together, playfully swirling their tongues around, savoring the unique texture of each other's tongues and the mingling taste of their saliva. Naruto-kun. Momo said, catching her breath. I want to take it to the next level. Those girls talked about sex as if it were something divine. I really want to experience it with Naruto-kun. Filled with excitement, she nearly exclaimed the wish in her thoughts. It was a bit crude, but she was all about being real and not hiding behind a mask. She needed to be real with herself and Naruto, or else she might not be what he wanted anymore. Naruto gave her a warm smile in response to her request. Looks like we'll need to be without clothes for that. A fierce spark lit up her eyes. She reached out and, with ease, let go of his belt, sliding it off his trousers before removing his kimono and undersleeves. She took off his trousers and began to shower his chest with gentle kisses. The couple took deep breaths under the blanket, savoring the cozy moment after being intimate. After a little while, Momo lifted her head, her eyes shining with love. Naruto-kun, you're still ready to go again. Momo swayed her hips, tightening around him. She gently held his shoulders, leading him to lie down on the bed, and planted soft kisses on his face. I'll give it a shot. He propped his arms under his head like a pillow. Feel free to continue. Momo pushed her hands against his chest and came down on him with a loud smack of her hips. Just as she was about to shift, the cozy atmosphere beneath the blanket was interrupted. They both looked at the black-haired girl who had snatched their blanket right in the middle of their moment together. Momo's face showed a hint of disapproval. "Hey Rukia, what made you do that?" Stay tuned for more. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this video. I'm thrilled you watched the video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe for even more exciting content coming your way soon.